Hello and welcome back to Witchfix. Now, after a few struggles, which I'm going to talk about in this episode, I've managed to procure a magical planner for 2019. So you might have listened to the Saga episode about how I was trying to get hold of the Llewellyn's Witch's Daybook, or Datebook rather, but for various reasons I was not able to do that. And so I went shopping around and had a look for other planners and things that I could purchase, and I eventually settled on the Colouring Book of Shadows Planner for a Magical 2019 by Amy Cesari, I think that's how you say that. I kind of missed out on the whole Colouring Book of Shadows phenomenon. It doesn't really appeal to me that much. I'm not really one of those people who's interested in all the colouring for mindfulness products that have been coming out recently, and I feel like there's a colouring book for everything because it's like this new trend. Adults colour now. So you might be wondering, why the fuck would you buy the Colouring Book of Shadows Planner for a Magical 2019? Well, I was wondering that too. It was the only one that was sort of a reasonable price that I saw, and also I was kind of intrigued by it and wanted to see what it was like, and I thought that the planner would be a good way to do that because it has a function as aside from just being a colouring book, and that kind of appealed to me. Also because although I do like to cut and stick a lot of things into my Book of Shadows, I thought it would be nice if some of those things I'd had input in, like colouring them in and creating art for my Book of Shadows, even if it was art that somebody else drew and I just coloured in. So I thought that would be really cool. So I ordered one from Amazon. It was $10.99, which I thought was obviously quite expensive for any kind of planner or diary, but definitely one of the lower cost ones. There were ones on there that were about £20, and there were ones that were about £15. So I thought a tenner is what I would have spent on the Llewellyn one, so it's a pretty decent one to have. Now, as I usually do when I'm quite excited about receiving something, I went onto YouTube and looked for unboxings and just general videos, like a tour through the book, because there wasn't a huge amount of information on the Amazon page. Usually with these ones you can kind of look through the first few pages, but literally this listing just had a picture of the cover, and I was like, yeah, okay, I guess that looks cute. So I went on to YouTube, and the video I ended up watching was Unboxing the Colouring Book of Shadows Planner 2019 by Nightshade Tarot, and their video is like 12 minutes long, and they talk a little bit about Amy Cesari and their enjoyment of some of her other products, and I was really taken by that. I liked the level of enthusiasm in the video. If you're thinking of purchasing this planner in particular, go and watch it now because it's a really good video, and I'll probably put a link to it in the description box so that you can find it and enjoy it for yourself. But I was really excited to receive my planner because watching the unboxing I saw that it had like a really nice sturdy spiral binding. Obviously that meant that the pages would lie flat to whatever surface you put it down on, which would make it for easy colouring, and interspersed with them would be lots of information about the different festivals and a lot of information about like rites and rituals that you could do, very much like the Llewellyn planner. So I started to feel a lot more positive about receiving my planner, and ordinarily my story would end there. I would have had a great time and my planner would have arrived and it would have been wonderful, but sadly that was not the case because I am apparently cursed with regards to diaries. When my planner came, I was surprised because the package was quite thin, and the package that she had unboxed, Nightshade Tarot had unboxed on her channel, was thicker. And then when I opened it, it was a paperback version, not like a paperback diary that you would normally buy. It was sort of like a very narrow spine and quite difficult to like open, and I could not get it to lay flat. It was sort of bowed, and I thought, well, this is going to be a nightmare to colour in. It also had a matte cover as opposed to a shiny cover, and with matte covers they always get fingerprints on and oil marks and various other things. I know I just sound like a greasy nightmare of a person, but that is true. And you know, I put things in my handbag like sausage rolls that I've just purchased because I have a big bag and I like to carry shit in it, so that isn't ideal for me as a product. And I was really disappointed that the quite nice looking version that I'd seen unboxed was not the version that I had received. So I looked over the Amazon page and I was like, why is there no spiral bound version here? Where did she get hers? Went back to the video, saw in the description box that there was a link to lulu.com. I don't know how familiar people are with lulu.com. I've actually used it a lot previously to publish my own paperback versions of my book, Basically, they do print on demand services. So when you order something, they'll print you a copy and send it to you. And in the old days of self-publishing, you would have to order like 500 copies or whatever, pay for them, have them in your house, and then try and sell them on to people. Whereas this way, you just put the digital document on there, people order copies of your book, and it will just print and send whenever they want, which is pretty cool. And I have some paperback copies from there that I've ordered as like proof copies of my book, so I know that they're like a legitimate website, which is nice. And it turns out that Amy Cesari does publish quite a lot of her products personally through lulu.com, and also through Etsy. You can buy like PDF versions and print your own ones, which I don't know why you'd want to do that, because I think that was like 25 quid, whereas you can buy one that's been printed for you for like half that amount, but whatever floats your boat. So I went onto lulu.com and I ordered the planner that I had seen unboxed with the spiral binding. It was more expensive than Amazon. I think it came to like $14.99 with shipping. But I found a discount code online, which, heads up, you can always find a discount code for lulu.com. You literally just Google it. They always have an offer running. And I got like £2 off. So in the end, I didn't end up paying like that much of a different amount. But I just really wanted the spiral bound version because I thought that's going to make it easier to colour, also easier to remove pages when it comes time to cut and stick at the end of the year. So I ordered that. Then I had to return the paperback version, which was its own kind of nightmare because it turns out I'd ordered it through Amazon Marketplace. So I had to actually get permission from the seller to return it, which was only said in the return instructions when I tried to initiate an Amazon return. That was a whole thing, and I still haven't got my refund for that. I'm waiting for it to like be processed by them. So that was all a bit of a nightmare. But now I have my planner and I'm going to do some first impressions for you. First impressions, I quite like it. It's a good size. It's like slightly bigger than A5, like taller, I think. But it has quite a lot of really nice images in it that you could colour in. There's like whole pages of just like altar setups and interesting kind of artwork involving like feathers and plants and candles, and you could colour that in however you wanted to. There's lots of information at the front, including two very nice illustrations of both the Wheel of the Year and the Seasons, which also features a smaller Wheel of the Year in the middle. So you could colour those in, put them in your Book of Shadows and keep them. I have a Wheel of the Year in every Book of Shadows that I have. I have two at the moment, one which is like my old one and one which is current. And it's just useful information to have in the book, so I always tend to include one. Then there's like a moon phases page, which is similarly very, very pretty, and you could colour that in however you wanted. And then some stuff about spellcasting basics, which, I mean, you might not need if you've, like me, cast quite a few spells in your time, but it's always interesting to have a look at what other people think and how they work, and maybe take a few snippets for yourself from that. And then you get like a full illustration page for January, and then basically every page you have illustrations and things, and then occasionally you have one full page which is a spell or a ritual. For instance, you can in February have a shadowy tea party, divination with your dark and light self. Then there's an Imbowl page. And then moving into March, there is a bath spell to visualise your most magical self, and then Ostera intention setting ritual. So basically like a spell and a ritual for a solstice or a Sabbath in each month, basically. It also has the month to view pages, which I really like in planners because it's really good for me to be able to visually see the 4 weeks, and I can like write all over those pages. I don't tend to use the actual week to views much. It's the month to views that I tend to find most useful, so that's really useful for me. I do think some of the illustrations are just a teensy bit cutesy and childish for me to use personally. Like the page for May has an owl, a cat and a rabbit playing instruments around a cauldron, while a bear on the opposite page plays the bongo drums, and there's a snake wearing a little witch hat. That is adorable. And if that was a greeting card, I would definitely send it to someone, but it's not something that I would like carry on and keep in my Book of Shadows just because it's cute. But it is something that I might colour in and then stick to the front of a piece of card and then send to a friend, because I think that would be quite cute. I don't know if I'm going to colour in like the whole book. It definitely seems like there's a lot of stuff to colour in, and obviously if you bought this as a colouring book, which is what it's meant to be, that would be super useful for you. If you're like me, just looking to colour in the illustrations that you would want to use in your Book of Shadows, the bits that you would want to keep, there's still a fair bit of colouring. I don't know how it's going to work out with various like colouring tools. I ordered some felt tip pens because I don't really have like colouring in stuff at home. The last thing I had to colour in was like 4 years ago, and it was the Taylor Swift colouring book, which I got as a Christmas present. So I bought a pack of crayons specifically for Taylor Swift and then proceeded to experiment with turning her into a vampire. So that was fun. But I bought a pack of like budget felt tip pens and a pack of watercolour pencils, just because I don't tend to really like colouring things in pencil, but I thought with the watercolour it might look quite cool. But the pages on this one do feel like maybe pens would go through to the opposite side, and maybe if you used watercolours on them they would get all crinkly and weird. So I'm going to experiment with some various different methods of colouring because I'm an adult, and then we'll see how each one matches up. I also have like watercolours in like a tin where you like wet the tablet and then paint, so I can try those out. Maybe there are crayons around that I could borrow. I feel like my brother has some, so I'll experiment and I'll get back to you guys maybe via the Twitter page just to let you know what worked and what went straight through the paper and ruined the rest of the diary. I'm sort of excited to have this. It's definitely something I can see myself doing like while watching a film or watching my brother play some Dragon's Dogma, because I finally got him to play it and he's not very good, so it's doing wonders for my ego. But yeah, something to do with my hands just while I'm doing that. I also like to like cut up magazines while I'm watching TV, and just keeps me busy, and it's something to do that isn't snacking, which is all I'm about these days. So if you're looking for a good alternative planner to the Magical Date book, and you maybe couldn't get your hands on the Llewellyn one because of the aforementioned hideously long waiting times, this is a good alternative. I would recommend getting it from Lulu. It is a tad more expensive, and I think you do have to wait a while for it to be delivered. Mine took about like a week and a half because obviously they have to print it and then send it to you, but it came really well packaged. It didn't take a really long amount of time compared to some of the things that I've previously ordered just from Amazon, and I like the spiral bound version way more than the paperback for all the reasons I mentioned previously. But if you don't really care about that, and if you have no qualms about just forcing the spine flat and maybe breaking the book and having it look a little bit fucked up by the end of the year, by all means get the paperback book. I'm not your mother, so you don't have to listen to me. I hope you've enjoyed this review. Keep updated on my progress with the colouring and maybe see some pictures. You can follow me on Twitter, which is @Witchfix, or you can even follow me on Instagram, because I have an Instagram page that isn't called Witchfix. It's just called Jolly Snidge, all one word, all lowercase. If you want to follow me on there, that's fine. A lot of the stuff I post on there is not witch related, but quite a bit of it is like pictures of my altar and witchy stuff that I find, so go follow me on there. And as always, you can email me and let me know what you think, which is witchfixpodcast@gmail.com, and I'll see you in the next episode. Bye!